on how to publish in an impact factor journal by Dr. Naila Hadi. Dr. Hadi is a director of medical education at Postgraduate Medical Institution, Peshawar. She is a professor of pathology and is editor and reviewer of multiple national and international journals. That Dr. Naila, we are extremely grateful to you for your precious time. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Furqan, for your kind introduction, and assalamu alaikum to all the participants of this particular webinar. Before we start, I think Dr. Iqbal is also here. Dr. Iqbal Haider.
Dr. Iqbal hasn't joined yet, ma'am.
Okay. So I just wanted to congratulate the College Research Committee headed by Dr. Iqbal Haider and chaired by Dr. Rubina Gul, and all the research team for arranging this particular series of webinars. Now, this series of webinars is a wealth of knowledge, specifically, I think, for our younger colleagues who are, who are new to this field, particularly to the field of research. So I think it will help them immensely in understanding this particular subject. So we will start with the name of Allah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You know that the topic of my particular webinar is tips for getting published in impact factor journals. So this is the specific outline or a brief outline that I'll be following during this particular webinar, in which you'll be enlightened about the journal impact factor, its importance, some tips for getting published, open access publishing, predatory publishing, and plagiarism. Now, so before we start, what is the impact factor of a journal? How many participants do we have, Furqan? 38. Okay, there are 38 participants. So I think when the number of participants goes to more than 50, then I just wanted to run a poll. I just wanted to see how many of the participants are well versed with these terminologies of impact factor or of publishing in such a journal. So I think I'll just wait for a while, and then we will conduct that particular poll for about 10 to 15 minutes.
Yes, ma'am, as is feasible for you. As is feasible for you.
Because I just wanted to see the baseline knowledge of the participants of the webinar, so that that will give me an understanding of whom I'm addressing. So that was the reason I wanted to carry out that poll. But we'll wait for about 10-15 minutes, and then we'll conduct that. Okay, so what is the impact factor of a journal? Now, I hope that many of you will be familiar with the fact that journal impact factor is based on Web of Science data that is calculated by Clarivate Analytics. Now, Clarivate Analytics is a company, US-based company that has taken over the Thomson Reuters. Some of you are familiar with the Thomson Reuters, which used to give us the impact factor previously, and currently Clarivate Analytics is handling this. So just very simply, how we calculate the impact factor. For example, if we are calculating the impact factor for 2023, so we'll take the number of citations in 2023 for all the manuscripts or articles that were published in the last 2 years, that is 2022 and 2021, and divided by the sum of number of manuscripts or articles that were published in 2022 and 2021. So if you see it simply, I've written it over here. That is, if you calculate the impact factor, let's say the number of citations in 2022 and 23 were 600. You divide it by the number of articles that were published in those 2 years. So in 1 year, in both the years, about 150 articles on an average. So 300. So that makes the impact factor as 2, 600 divided by 300. Okay, so the impact factor of the journal will come around to 2. Now, then I just wanted you to know that, yes, of that particular journal, we're just talking randomly about a journal. Of that particular journal, the impact factor will be 2. Top Pakistani journals with an impact factor, the following list came. There were other journals as well, but these are the ones that have a better impact factor. So the journals that as healthcare professionals we are concerned with are usually JCPSP, Journal of the College of Physicians and Surgeons, Pakistan, Journal of the Pakistan Medical Association, which is also known as JPMA, and Pakistan Journal of Medical Sciences. Tariq Majid, I think there was a question, open access or not. I think we'll keep these questions to the end, because open access I'll also be addressing later in the part of my lecture. So I think we'll deal with the question later. Okay. Then, so when we say JCPSP, JPMA, PGMS, their impact factor is more than or equal to around 2. Okay, so if we compare these with the international journals, let's see. The impact factor for the international journals, you can see that the greatest or the highest impact factor is that for Cancer Journal for clinicians, which is 255 or 254.7, almost 255. Then Lancet, 168. Then Najm or New England Journal of Medicine, 158, JAMA, 120, Nature. There are many different journals that are published under the name of Nature, and they differ with the like drug discovery or molecular cell biology. Similarly, BMJ. So you can see that the impact factor is too much as compared to the impact factor that we saw for the Pakistani journals, which was around 2. So how would we know that a particular journal is better, is put in which category? If we compare it with the international journals, which run in 200s, and when we compare it with our journals, where the impact factor is only under 2. So a good impact factor is between more than 5 to 10. So a journal having a good impact factor usually has an impact factor between these two figures. Then an average impact factor is between 1 to 5, and a low impact factor is between 0 to 1. So that was the journal impact factor. And what is the publishing? The importance of publishing in these high impact factor journals. Why would we want to publish in high impact? Like importance, aapko pata honi chahiye, because unless and until you know the importance, you will not be able to understand कि हमें what could be the reason for publishing in these journals. So the first importance is that when you publish in such journals, high impact factor journals, it increases the readership and visibility of your article. And when the readership and visibility are increased, you will come to know in later points as well that what is the importance of that. It increases your academic credibility. It increases your grant funding prospects. Now, once you publish in a high impact factor journal, then for your next project, if you apply for a grant funding, you're liable to get that research grant based on your publication in high impact factor journal. This way, मेरे पास लगा. Okay. The next one is that it improves your career advancement. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the tenure track system, the TTS system that is being followed by AGC, and there are many institutions where this particular you can say the TTS system is being followed for promotions. Like for example, for you, I can say promotion from assistant professor to associate professor, and then from associate to professor. Now, if you are improving your career advancement, you have published in a high impact factor journal. Of course, the points that are required for promotion from one tier to another will be easier. Then
मैं जा रहा हूँ तो स्कैन साइड जा रहा हूँ उधर है
better validation of research. Okay, if you have published in high impact factor journal, it validates the quality of your research. It means that only good quality research will be published in high impact factor journal. Increased number of citations. Usually these journals are more in readership, more in visibility, and that is why, and of course, people would like to cite from these high quality journals. So number of citations will also be more. Then higher influence on policy making, specifically for those you can say for articles that are in epidemiology or public health policies or even health policies. They can also be modified if you publish in high impact factor journals, and then they can make an influence on that. And greater international recognition. Of course, high impact factor journals, like you've seen, are usually international journals. So if you publish in international journals, your recognition, you will also have a greater international recognition as well. So you can see that there are a lot of points associated with the importance of publishing in high impact factor journals. Okay, I just included this particular, you can say, can we say cartoon figures or something? But if many of you must be familiar with this particular diagram, because we used to be told about 2 decades ago, publish, publish, publish. Why? Because you need to publish if you want to excel. That was the main reason. There was nothing associated with promotions or with other. But if you want to, so publication was the only mantra at that time. But then, as about a decade later, this particular wordings became more, you can say, popular, when we used to be told that publish or perish, that if you don't publish, you stand nowhere, and you're going to, you will perish as a researcher or as an academician. So you need to publish for that purpose. Then about, you can say, 5 to 10 years back, this particular you can say publish in high impact factor journals or perish. Now this became popular because high impact factor journals, like I told you, has their own has its importance and has its own positive points. But nowadays, what is you can see that it is said that publish frequently. You don't need to publish in only publish in high. You need to publish frequently in high impact factor journals, and still then maybe you won't perish, because like we already said, there should be quality journals, there should be good journals, they should be the ones with more readability, more visibility. So maybe you won't perish if you publish accordingly. Okay, so let's start with the tips. There are many tips. You can say that there are many tips available if you go onto the internet and search for these tips. But I've just jotted down these important ones. And they are very simple tips, but they need to be followed in true spirit. And what are these tips? They are we'll just deal with them one by one. Know your field, pick the right journal, write well, follow submission rules, and accept feedback and revise. So let's start with know your field. Okay, so when we say know your field, we mean to say that the field that you belong to. For example, you are pursuing a career in medicine or in surgery or towards basic sciences and physiology, anatomy, pathology. So you should be knowing which field you belong to, and you should you should know your field, because the first one is, do you have a contribution to make to your field, to your particular field of study? How can you make a contribution? By doing some novel, innovative work, or by finding, like you must be familiar with these, find a gap in knowledge. Okay? By doing a literature survey, you find a gap in knowledge, or you come up with some new theory, or you come up with an extension of a theory that is already available. There is a theory, but you want to add to that theory in order to make it more viable. Okay, so all these will progress towards improved patient care, improved patient safety, because that is the ultimate goal. Then the second one is, ask yourself questions. When you are working in a particular field, and when you're trying to start writing a manuscript, these are the questions that should come to your mind. Number one, who are my target audience? Who am I going to address? This particular article will cater to which type of audience. So, for example, you can say that the target audience is that of those who belong to the general medicine. So then, similarly, if they belong to a certain multidisciplinary, you can say, fields in which, or they belong to some specialist field like oncology, so dealing with cancers. So therefore, you need to ask yourself questions that who are your target audience? Number two, how will your research helps in building on what is already known about the particular subject? Like we've already said previously as well, gaps in knowledge and innovative work. The third point is, read journals in your field. So that too would be, I would like to add to it, read quality journals in your field. Okay. So why you want to read them? Because you want to familiarize yourself with what's going on, what's the recent research, what is going on in your particular field. So once you do all this, then you locate and evaluate your sources, and you can also ask your librarian to help you out by searching these particular databases like Google Scholar, PubMed, Scopus, Web of Science. These are all databases that have got a number of journals, and you can search through them, and you can ask your librarian. Good librarians can pinpoint to you the journals to you according to your field. They can help you out in that. Okay, so the first one is know your field. The second one is pick the right journal. Now, when you say pick the right journal, there are a number of factors that are that need to be considered about journals, which include the aims and scope, again, readership or target audience, the peer review policy, impact matrix for the journal, and indexing and abstracting. Now, I'll deal with them one by one, but regarding peer review policy, if you remember, I think one of your webinar was based on peer review, and that was taken by our by Dr. Mumtaz Mohammed from PGMI, and I think he explained everything that has to be said about the peer review. So therefore, I'll just leave it. I will not deal with it, but there are 2 points regarding peer review policy in picking up the right journal. Now, number one is that whenever why is it important that you need to know the peer review policy of the journal that you are picking up? Okay, Furqan, we'll play in about 5 minutes time, okay? So peer review policy, there are 2 points regarding the peer review policy that are of importance in picking the right journal. The first one is that we need to know that what is the policy of the journal? Is it single blind? Or is it double blind? Is it open peer review? And if the peer review policy is very clear and clearly written in the journal, it indicates the difference between a predatory journal and a quality journal. So, number one, it will tell you that this is not a predatory and they have proper peer review policy. Okay? And the other thing important is that when you're going through the peer review policy, you will also come to know that do they have the policy of asking for potential reviewers from you, for providing them with a list of potential reviewers, because that is also important, that if they want you to give them the list of peer reviewers, that is important. And what you would do in that case would be that in the quality journals that you go through, you go through the articles, you first pinpoint the articles that are closer to your topic and then see the authors of those particular articles and then pick those who are the senior most in those particular articles, 2 or 3 names. You're not going to go and search among your friends, among your colleagues, or among your supervisors for a reviewer. That is very important. Okay? So these are the 2 things that are relevant to us for picking the right journal, the peer review policy. So let's see what is the importance of aims and scope in picking the right journal. So I've taken the example of the Lancet, which has a site score of 148 point. This is the home page of the Lancet, impact factor of 98.4. The reason why I'm showing it to you is because you should be in the habit of going and searching all these and seeing the amount of information that you see on this particular homepage, which will only be seen in quality journals and not in predatory journals. Okay, so then you also see the guidelines for authors, which we'll later on deal with. Then you see the aims and scope, and look at this information: article publishing charge, time to first decision, review time, submission to acceptance. So good journal of the standing of Lancet will usually give you everything written in clearly on its website. So so when you say aims and scope, see this is the aim and scope for the Lancet. And if I just pick up the main aim and scope, is that it is dealing with general medical it is a general medicine journal. Okay, so which means that it usually caters to these journal, and in the later details, I've also seen that it also publishes dentistry journals. So basically, general medicine and dentistry. So that what is the importance of aims and scope? Why should we have a look at it? Because you have a field of surgery, and you're going to send your article to the Lancet. You're just wasting your time because it is going to be rejected. Test rejection will be done there, but you'll lose about 2 weeks time during the process. So please go see the aims and scope of the journal just for this simple reason. Okay, let's see another example of a local journal, JCPSP, Journal of the College of Physicians and Surgeons. You see the information on their homepage. It's an open access. It has an impact factor of 0.9. It is peer-reviewed monthly biomedical journal. And if we look at its aims and scope, it is caters to the medical health professionals core biomedical health science subjects, basic medical sciences, and emergent community problems. So you can you see that the aims and scope, and you can match your article accordingly and then publish it. So we'll just conduct that poll. Junaid?
मैम you can conduct.
अच्छा तो आप करें.
मैम उसको click करो.
अच्छा. So I'm just conduct.
I think there is some issue with her internet. Okay, she's back.
Okay, the first question. Have you ever published an original research article in a journal? The options are yes and no.
So this is our first poll for today. Everyone, you can see it on your screen. Kindly choose the option which is much more suitable for you.
Okay. Okay, so about 44% say, 46% say yes, they have published, and 50. Okay, it's still changing. 59%.
The dynamics
59.
are still changing, ma'am.
Okay, they are still yes working on it.
There are only 29 answers up till now. 31 now.
Take.
Everyone, please choose an answer to the question.
Okay, so I think I'll just end it over here. 47% say yes, 53% say no. So this was, then the next question will be directed towards those who said yes. ठीक है? तो मैं आपको भी बताती हूँ.
3.
Oh. Okay, so if you have published, what is the number of your published original articles? 1 to 3 or more than 3? So it is for those who have published.
If you answered yes in the previous question, kindly select one of these options. It's mostly, ma'am, 1 to 3.
Okay, so which means that our participants, they have published.
Yeah.
Okay, 70, yes. So now you can tell them what's the...
It's 78% people who selected the option yes in the previous poll. They're saying that they have published 1 to 3 articles, and greater than 3 are just 22%. Like 4 people have only published more than 3 articles.
Okay. Yes.
We can relaunch the poll.
J. Have you published in a national international impact factor journal? अब ये जिन्होंने कहा कि हाँ हमने publish किया, they should just think about it, that were the impact factor journals, even if it was a national or an international?
So 75% people are saying that they have published.
67% पे आ
Yeah,
गया.
67%, ma'am. 18. The answer is now.
So I think they will be the ones who have published. Okay, but the ones who were not able to publish in an impact factor journal, I hope they would be able to have some benefit from this particular, and they would want to publish it in an impact factor journal. So, okay, so we will. Research project. No.
We have a large majority of people who haven't published right now, and they will find this webinar handy in future, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah. Okay, so we were talking about we'll come to that as well, that they're very expensive. I'll tell you the ways of applying to them as well. ठीक है, so JCPSP का भी हमने कर लिया. Then the next one was that we wanted to see that research impact या target audience की बात हमने की थी. So this is from the target audience and reach and impact I took from the Lancet journal, and they said that we target researchers, clinicians, industry professionals, policymakers, media outlets, patients, and the wider public. So these are all their target audience. You can see how wider, you can see that the extent is very wide as compared to us. We only think that it is for our fellow researchers or clinicians, and that's it. Okay. And another important thing about it is that when you look at this information that is given in this particular site, it tells us about the reach and impact of the Lancet journal. You can see that there's so many millions of downloaded articles on a daily basis. Similarly, Lancet alerts are being activated by a number of people, and there are about 3.9 million subscribers for those alerts. And then social media, you can see their Lancet journals have followers, about 2.8 million on the Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta. So you can YouTube, you can see the list goes on. And similarly, there's so many you can say mentions in the news articles. So they also publish their impact full, you can say, news in the newsletters, articles as well. And then there are podcasts and webinars. So you can see that journal and reach and impact, they're trying to reach the people, you can say, as a whole. And that is the reason their target audience is also more. And the reach and impact is also more. Okay. The next point, if you remember, we have dealt with the aims and scope. We have dealt with the target audience, the reach and impact. We talked about the peer review policy. The next one is the site score versus journal impact factor. Site score, journal impact factor, you remember we talked about the impact factor initially, that Web of Science gives us the impact factor, and what it does is that citations from 2 years. If you want to have impact factor of 2019, you will collect all the citations from 2017 and 2018 and divide it by the number of articles published during these 2 years, 2017 and 2018, and you will get the impact factor for 2019. So this is Web of Science, in which 2 years data is being taken. For the site score, in scope is usually the one that is, you can say, given by Scopus or conducted by Scopus, which is another database. And but how is it different from the journal impact factor? It is different because it takes data from the previous 4 years rather than 2 years. That's the main difference. And the other difference between the two is that what are the documents that are included when they consider the citations. For Scopus, they They include articles, reviews, conference papers, data papers, book chapters. But for Web of Science, it is more limited to articles and reviews. They do not consider the conference papers and the book chapters. So this was the site score and journal impact factor. You should also have an idea that what is the site score and journal impact factor when you are choosing a journal. Okay? And the next one was abstracting and indexing services. Now, when we say abstracting and indexing services, we basically mean to say that it is a service that provides abstracts of publications, often on a subject of, or you can say on a subject or group of related subjects. Okay? What is the purpose of abstracting and indexing? The main purpose is to enhance the findability, the visibility, and discoverability of the scholarly content generally, and for a wider audience, or you can say in a specific subject area, or you can say for a wider audience. Now, you can see that the Lancet is abstracted or indexed in so many different databases. You can see them all, and it's no use going through all of them, but the main reason for showing it to you is that these are all the abstracting and indexing services that are being they are given in the journal guidelines for the Lancet, and then when in JCPSP, it is also indexed and abstracted in a number of different services. They provide all this. And like I said, that it increases the visibility and findability of the journal. It helps you in that. Okay. Okay. So in addition to those points, so we did those 4 or 5 points. In addition to that, there are other factors to consider about journals as well when we are picking up the right journal. Open access, predatory publishing, publishing frequency, acceptance rate, and journal finder. So when we say publishing frequency, the importance of publishing frequency is that why we want to know when we are picking the right journal is that if, for example, a journal has a publication frequency of 1 week, every week a new journal is coming, a new issue is being published, as compared to a quarterly journal in which every 4th month the journal is being published. So the difference is that you would want to publish in a journal that is published very frequently, because it increases the chances of publication of your article. Because if it is published every week or it is published bi-monthly, the frequency, publishing frequency is more, and your chance of getting published is more. On the other hand, the other point I want to deal with it at this stage is acceptance rate. Now, acceptance rate means that whether your journal is, your article or manuscript is going to be accepted by the journal to which you apply or not. Now, every journal has got its own acceptance rate, acceptance and rejection rate. Now, if we talk about the high impact factor journals like the BMJ, the Lancet, the acceptance rate is only 6 to 7%, which means that more than 90% of the articles or manuscripts are going to be rejected. Okay, so the acceptance rate is very low for those journals, for the very high impact factor journals. So that is how you will go, you will just go through the website of that particular journal and see what is the acceptance rate, and do you qualify for that particular, do you think that your article is of such quality that it will be accepted and it will be selected in those 6%. So it is your, you have to decide that. So publishing frequency, acceptance rate we have done. Now we'll just deal with very briefly with open access, predatory publishing, and journal finder. So what is open access? Now, open access publishing, once you your publication is ready, or you can say your manuscript is ready for publication, the journal will publish it. For example, if it is published through the gold, there are different open access routes. One is the golden open access route. What happens in this is that your publication will only be published when you pay the article processing charges, the APC, that is given on the journal website, and you pay for it. And then once you pay, and the journal is, your manuscript is published in the journal, and it is immediately available through the publisher, to the author, as well as to a wider audience, to anyone who goes onto the website and onto the journal website, and they can download it, they can get it, they can read it. So that is golden open access route. The second one is a subscription-based journal. Now in this, you are not paying the article processing charges. Once the manuscript is ready, you can either send it into a repository, which is provided by the publisher, or you can see that there are institutional repositories as well, and you can get your article. You can say put your article in that repository over there. And the difference basically from the gold open access is that the publisher has a policy regarding open access, that it will only become available to the general public or to the rest of the audience after, let's say, 6 months or 1 year period. So you must have seen it on the website as well, that whenever we, for these subscription-based journals, when we click onto the website, only the abstract is available, and there is an information that you have to pay this much money if you want to get the article, the full text of the article. So that is green open access route. And the third one is a hybrid journal, in which you have a mix of the open access and the subscription-based journals, meaning that if you pay article, these hybrid journals, they operate both the scenarios. That is, they can take article processing charges and publish the article as open access, or they can publish the article as subscription-based by only putting it in the repository and only giving you the abstract, and you have to pay for the subscription. Okay, the next one is predatory publishing, and scientific misconduct was dealt with very eloquently by Dr. Iqbal Haider yesterday, and he also mentioned a number of scientific misconduct. So this is also a scientific misconduct whereby a company creates a journal on false pretenses for defrauding authors, helping authors to deceive their colleagues, or both. Okay, so just briefly, these predatory publishers or publishing companies do what? They usually operate an open access model. Why? Because they want to make money. These particular publishers, they want to make money. So that is the reason that in all their journals, they will be operating an open access model and asking the authors to pay for publication of their journals. Okay, number one. Number two, why are they doing that? Because one is to making money, and they know it that those authors who are in dire need of publication, it is easier to take advantage of those authors. So they are taking advantage of their need. And the third thing important is that these predatory publishers will be publishing anything, regardless of the quality. And how is that possible? Because they do not, they will not do the rigorous peer review policy that is usually required by quality journals, and they'll just publish your article within a week's time. So that is another feature for the predatory publishers or predatory journals. So there were Jeffrey Beals, he was a librarian, and he developed this criteria for defining the predatory journals or predatory publishers. And I've just jotted down a few. There is a long list, but I've just jotted down these few points, which will make you understand that what is this Beale's criteria? The name of the journal resembles an impact factor journal. For example, there is Journal of Medical Sciences. They will come up with an International Journal of Medical Sciences. So they will resemble an impact factor journal, and this is how they deceive you. And then editorial board is fake, or it lacks number and diversity. And so much so that the same board is present for different journals. Now, how the editorial board is fake? Because they have given names, but it's not necessary that all those editors are on board. They maybe those editors even don't even know that their name is being used for this purpose. And the other thing important, that they might have only 1 or 2 editors on board, and the rest of the names are fake. And there's no diversity, meaning that you need to have editors from many different fields, from many different, in order to increase the diversity of your journal. So that is also not seen there. And since they are fake journals, what they do is they run a number of different journals at the same time. And usually in the editorial board, they show you the same names for all the journals. So that also should ring alarm bells that this particular journal is fake. Lack of clarity around publisher location. For example, the chief editor is residing in UK, but the publisher is showing you an address of India. So how is that possible? There are instances like these. So it has to be, there should be there should be clear instructions regarding the publisher locations and all the information regarding the publisher. False claims regarding indexing and abstracting, like they say that they are indexed in this, and they are all these different bodies, but when you go onto the website and search for their name in those particular indexing agencies, you will not find them. So they are false claims regarding this. They have poorly maintained websites, and they have broken links. That is, since the journals are not available, of course, they will not be interested in maintaining their website. So when you go onto their websites, that is also a giveaway that these are not quality journals when you explore their websites. And this is what happened, that when with Curious also, that when one of the articles of my colleagues came to me, and I went, and they said that it's published in Curious, and I went onto the website, and when I explored it, it just looked like the website of a predatory journal. So I think then another thing is use of spam email to solicit manuscripts or reviewers. Now, HEC has a requirement, and all those good journals have a requirement that whenever they correspond with you, they want you to give you their institutional address, give you their official email address. They do not correspond with you through email, through Yahoo or through Google. Okay, so that is important. That and another thing is, when we say reviewers, that means that all the journal correspondence should be through the editorial management systems or through the journal systems that are being run by that particular journal, and they should not be, correspondence should not be done through emails. Okay, so that was predatory journals. And finally, journal finder using AI. All of you are familiar with AI, becoming very common nowadays. AI, artificial intelligence, and you can use artificial intelligence to find a journal suitable for your particular manuscript. How can you do that? Very simple. There is an AI tool by the name of Trinker.ai. If you go onto it, it can check for plagiarism. It can check citations. It can help you in finding a journal if you put your abstract into it, and it will help you in finding a journal. Another is paper pal, usually very commonly used by editors and writers, and it can also help you in finding a journal, suitable journal for your particular manuscript. Editage. Now, this is a global journal database for, you can, again, they have a window in which you can go put your abstract, and you can find a journal suitable for your particular manuscript. Jenny AI, which is again another tool that is used. And then many journals or many publishers, like for example, Elsevier Journal Finder, similarly Springer Nature Journal Finder. Okay, now these also have journal finders. When we say Elsevier Journal Finder, this is not a paid version, because you can put your on these publishers, I think, the Elsevier and the Springer Nature, you can do it for free. Trinka, to some extent, you can do it for free, but later on it becomes paid. Same goes for PaperPal. Jenny is also a paid version, but they give you certain, you can say certain time limits for which you can become, and the payment is usually, I think it is affordable for many. So, and then the old thing, check and submit. If you remember, this is I think for quite some time this is available. Think, check and submit, and it's a website that offers clear advice about how to publish. They have an instructional video, a checklist, and tips for checking the journal's credibility. So you have to take on those, check the checklist and see if you qualify for all these different checks, and then only you should submit it. Okay, so once you have gone through all these journals, now what is it? You have to make a journal list for that particular manuscript. You have to come up with a journal list. List में आपके पास 3-4 journals होने चाहिए, ठीक है? On an average, you need to have a journal list. And please do not submit your manuscript to more than one journal at a time. This is very important, and it is an unethical standard because international ethics prohibit multiple simultaneous submissions. And if you think that editors do not find cannot find this, they do find it out. And once they find it, then you're blacklisted forever. Okay, so you have to be very, very, I think, ethical standards you have to maintain. All authors should agree to this particular list. So you have a number of authors who are authoring that particular manuscript. Let's say there are 5 or 6 authors. So they all should agree according to the ICMGE criteria as well as scope. All the authors should agree to this list, and also the sequence of journals. Okay, so you're going to apply to which particular journal as a first journal, second journal, and third journal. Use the guide. Okay, once you say, okay, I've shortlisted this particular journal, now what you do is, the next step is go to the guide for authors. These differ per journal. Why you need to go to the guide for authors, the guidelines for authors? Because every journal has its own guidelines. Okay? So this is very important. Please, guidelines for authors, like I've shown you on the website, on the homepage of all these journals, you need to go. And I'll show you later as well that why is it important. Okay, the third point is write well. And this, I think most of you will be familiar with what I mean by writing a good manuscript or writing a good article, by avoiding all the common errors, grammatic errors. Scientific writing may write only short sentences, avoid multiple long sentences. having many statements in between. Why? Because they are confusing to the reader. Mhm. Write a good abstract. First section might be the only section read by journal editors before sending for review.
Right.
ठीक है, so आप जब abstract वो कर रहे हैं तो you please pay extra attention to the abstract. Why? Because this is the section that is read by everyone, even the reader. When selecting, when they're trying to select an article, they will read the abstract, and then if it's interesting only, then they will go on and read the full text. So similarly, for acceptance into a journal, the journal editor first has to go through the abstract. So please write a good abstract. That is very important. So write with clarity, objectivity, accuracy, and brevity. Okay. Now, when I was going through the author guidelines of the Lancet, these sentences caught my eye, and I said that I'll share them with you. Like I've underlined these particular sentences, that whatever you have written, remember that it is the general reader whom you are trying to reach. You're not trying to reach a specialist or a consultant. It is the general reader whom you're trying to reach. And also remember when I remember that in initial days as well, we were told that show it to your colleague in the biochemistry department or in other departments, share it with them. And then we would be confused. Why are they saying that? The reason for it is why? Because, you know, they have to read it as a reader, not as a specialist. So if they do not understand, neither will the Lancet staff or readers who are reading this particular article in the journal. So writing well, remember, I think I will not go into the details because all of you are familiar with the MRAD structure and with that it should be structured according to a plan of introduction, methods, results, and discussion. And while writing the introduction as well as the discussion, and even in methodology, you have to give good citations. Cite, and cite well. You have to give proper, good citations, proper citations. And that is very important. Okay? So write and rewrite, ask colleagues and supervisors to review your manuscript, make changes to incorporate comments and suggestions, get all co-authors to approve the version to submit, and then your manuscript is ready for submission. So when you say cite and cite well, what are we trying to avoid? We are trying to avoid plagiarism. So this brings us to the next part of copyright and plagiarism. Now, when we say copyright, it is using someone's work without permission. Okay? And when we, as an author, ensure that you get permission to use the content you have not created. And you should supply written confirmation from the copyright holder when submitting your manuscript. Now, using someone's work or ideas without giving proper credit is plagiarism, and I think we will. I think plagiarism was yesterday also dealt by Dr. Iqbal Haider, so I will not go into the details of that because all of you are familiar with all the scientific misconduct that comes as a result of plagiarism, and we should avoid all these particular scenarios. And just as an example, JCPSP, that is Journal of College of Physicians and Surgeons, Pakistan, follows the ICMJE, PMDC, and HEC guidelines and criteria for all types of plagiarism. ICMJE is the International Committee for Medical Journal Editors, and PMDC is our own Pakistan Medical and Dental Council, and HEC guidelines. Okay, why is it important that there is no plagiarism? I remember that Dr. Iqbal also talked about retractions. So there are a journal article is retracted if you detect any malpractice or you detect the plagiarism in it. So this article, an article in which the authors committed plagiarism, it will not be removed from the Science Direct ever, because this was an article from Elsevier Science Direct. Everybody who opens or downloads it will see the reason for the retraction. And what was the reason? This article is virtually identical to the previously published article. If you remember yesterday also, you were being told that you can, some people can change the sequence of the authors, or they can change some, do one or two changes and then again publish the article as new. So this particular, the fate of such articles is retraction. Okay, number 4, follow submission guidelines. Now, once your manuscript, you have written your manuscript, you have found a journal for yourself, and you have to submit the article to the journal. And again, most stress on this particular point, you need to know, read the guidelines to authors again and again. And what is the reason for that? The reason is because, you know, the text layout, the word limit, the nomenclature, the figures and tables, references, all these will be different for different journals. So you need to go into the guidelines. If you want to publish your article or your manuscript, you have to be very clinical and you have to be very thorough. So that is the reason that going through the author guidelines and the submission guidelines is mandatory. Inappropriate topic and poor English are the most usual reasons for rejection by editors. So if you don't go into the author guidelines, you don't see the aims and scope of the journal, and you don't read what the journal requires, of course, you're going to be on the rejection list of the editors. Editors and reviewers do not like wasting time on poorly prepared manuscripts. It is regarded as sign of disrespect. So please don't make them biased against you. In addition to that, a good cover letter can help to sell your manuscript to the journal editor. Now, what is a cover letter? A cover letter or covering letter is basically your chance to speak to the editor directly. And you need to go and check the journal for instructions for authors. And usually they give you a layout for how to write that particular cover letter. And they give you all the requirements in that. But if you do not have the instructions, you can follow a general baseline. Like, for example, if you're writing a cover letter or a covering letter, in the first paragraph, usually, Dr. Mashid, covering letter is different. Like I told you that this is a letter that will accompany your manuscript. And just when I go through the cover letter, you will understand that what is the content of this particular cover letter. So in the first paragraph, you will write the title and type of manuscript. What is the title of your manuscript? What is the type of your manuscript? Is it original research article? It is a review article? What is the type of your manuscript? Background of the study, research question you sought out to. So mention the research question or your hypothesis. The second paragraph, concisely explain what was done, the main findings and why they are significant. Okay, these will all be one-liners. Remember, it's a letter, usually a one-page letter. You do not give paragraphs. You the third paragraph is explain procedures. Silence, please. Furkan?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry for the distortion.
Okay, in the third paragraph, you will explain why readers of this journal would be interested in this particular work or in your manuscript. Take your cues from the journal's aims and scope. You would say that since it's a general medical journal, that is why I think my particular manuscript will be more suited to be published in your particular journal. So you can, or if it is a surgical or oncology journal, you can say that since I've worked in cancer, I think that it is more suitable for your particular journal. In conclusion, you will mention the corresponding authors and any journal specific requirements. For example, if the journal is asking for disclosure from the authors, disclosure. If you remember yesterday, Dr. Iqbal also talked about the conflict of interest. Any type of disclosure you want to make at this particular stage, you want to tell them that you've received a grant, a research grant, a funding from any pharma agency or funding from anywhere you think that it needs to be, everything needs to be transparent. So disclosures should be done at this particular stage, and you should also mention the reviewers as well if that is the policy of the journal. So the main tips are that all cover letters should contain these two sentences. What are these two sentences? This manuscript has not been published elsewhere and is not under consideration by another journal. So you're writing this, and if you have not done it, so that means that you're not following the ethical standards. And number two is all authors have approved the manuscript and they agree with its submission. So this is the okay. The impact of the cover letter is, if you see, if along with your manuscript, this cover letter is attached, which shows you everything at a glance. It is summarizing your work. How? By telling the editor that this is the type of the manuscript, this is my research question, and these are my the objectives, and these are my main significant findings. If the editor can pick this all up at a glance, it means that the cover letter will be very helpful. Okay, so it is a requirement for many journals. Okay. You can suggest potential reviewers. Your suggestion will help the editor to move your manuscript to the review stage more efficiently. Find potential reviewers and their contact details from articles in your specific subject area. For example, from your references. Remember, I told you initially as well that reviewers should not be someone that you know. They should not be your supervisors or close friends. They should represent at least 2 regions of the world. So that would mean that if you're selecting reviewers, you should make sure that they are not even from Asia. Okay, is that possible? But I think this is what they require, that you should get reviewers from, for example, US, UK, Canada, Australia, rather than getting it from Asia. Okay. Accept feedback and revise accordingly. So if you, what is the feedback? The feedback will be once you have the editor has sent your manuscript. Remember, you've also done the editor's perspective also, and you know that once the your manuscript is accepted by the desk editor, he or she sends it to reviewers, depending upon the policy of the journal. The reviewers send their feedback. It is the editor will check upon it and then will send this feedback back to the authors, so that revisions in the manuscript should be done. Okay, so what you have to do is that they should all the authors should receive the standard revise and resubmit letter from editors, and they fail to respond. They read, reflect, and act on feedback from the reviewers and editors and write a better version of the paper. Submit it to another journal. Now, sometimes what happens is that even if they do not accept your particular manuscript, the good journals do what? They send you a long list of what should be done to improve the quality of your manuscript. So you do that and then resubmit it to another journal. So they say that it will help you out, at least in this way. The comments by reviewers should be treated with respect, and reviewers are trying to help you write the best article you can write. You revise the manuscript, and I think I'll not go into the detail because you've already done it, but you
Dr.
prepare.
Naila,
PG.
sorry for interrupting, but there is a question by Dr. Bushra Hashmi in the chat box. What
Ji.
about the journals which give you choice to recommend a reviewer along with your own list? Are they the right journals?
Okay, let me see.
Dr.
Who
Bushra.
is? Answer.
Bushra Hashmi. If you go to the last,
Ji. What about the journals which give you choice to recommend it along with their own list? Are they the right? What do you mean by along with their own list? Because
Bushra, you can unmute your mic if you want.
What do you mean by give you a choice to recommend a reviewer along with their own list? You mean to say that the journal is giving you the list and asking you to choose the reviewers?
No, ma'am. They have their own list, on their website. But they were also saying that you can recommend a reviewer along with these reviewers that we will be including and reviewing the art. There was a general report, so that's why I researched.
Okay. Now, what I've seen in international journals, they're asking you for potential reviewers, and they would want. They might get, like, if you remember, in a previous webinar also this particular question arose, that you might select one reviewer from that particular list and you might send it to another reviewer on your own, because it's number one, you should know that that particular reviewer is not related to you in any way. If it is from some other country and he's not involved in any of your research, and the choice, you can say that when you were choosing him, that particular reviewer was freely made with no other, nothing, you can say nothing. So in that particular instance, that reviewer can be accepted. But if you remember, in our journals, in the national journals, what they do is they usually want a list of reviewers from you in order to increase their database. They might not send it to those particular reviewers. They will select reviewers on their own, but they do want you to give them the names of the reviewers. Okay? So it is the policy of different journals, but if you are being asked about the reviewers, it is better to give them, because sometimes when you're writing in certain fields which are very rare, the reviewers are also not that frequently available. So if you send them the reviewers, it makes their choice easier. ठीक है, तो ये उस specific circumstances में it becomes more relevant, but otherwise it is the policy of the journal that is being followed. And if they ask you to provide them with reviewers, do provide them with the reviewers, so that I'm telling you कि कोई भी आपको उसमें you should not have anything, you should not be short of anything. If they are asking you to give you reviewers, कल को आपका वही point उसमें वो नहीं हो सकता कि you did not provide us with reviewers and we were unable to arrange them. ठीक है? So that is important. Okay.
So thank you so much.
Thank you for the answer, ma'am.
You're welcome. Okay, so
I think we should carry on.
Ji, I'm carrying on, but
Dr. Imran Marwat in the comment section in the chat box has also put in that good journals never share their reviewers list.
okay, I don't know why it's not.
In the meanwhile, kindly those who haven't joined with their official names, rename yourselves.
Okay, so we talked about it, that revise your manuscript, detailed response, and if you remember, we said that the feedback should be whatever feedback has been sent to you from the reviewer and the editor, please take it positively and respond to it in a very clinical way. How? By typing, you can do color coding, you can type the reviewer's comments in one color and type your own in another color. And you should give very logical explanation for each one of the, and you should always take it positively. You have to be polite, even when you think that the reviewer was wrong. And write in such a manner that your response can be forwarded to the reviewer without prior editing by the editors. Risk of avoidable rejection will be minimized by taking the manuscript revision seriously. Okay, so if you revise the manuscript properly, you will not be, your risk for rejection will be decreased. Increasing the likelihood of acceptance. You have to be consistent. You have to check and recheck before submitting. Make sure that you sell a logical, clear story about your findings. Especially take notes of the reviewer's comments. They improve the quality of your paper. And it will increase the likelihood of your paper being accepted. Okay. Now, this was just an excerpt from a common problem with submissions by an international editor. The following problems appear much too frequently. Submission of papers which are clearly out of scope. If you remember, we said the aims and scope of the paper should be, of the journal should be very clearly seen. That is the reason, so that the submission of the paper should not seem out of scope. Okay? The second point is failure to format the paper according to the guide for authors. Remember, I've said repeatedly, submission guidelines, author guidelines should be read carefully and followed. Inappropriate or no suggested reviewers. Now, if there is a requirement for reviewer, again, they say that you should be giving them specifically for those subjects where reviewers are scarce. Inadequate response to reviewers. So that is the point when we said accept feedback and revise according to which the reviewers want you to. Okay, so accept feedback and revise accordingly. Inadequate standard of English, resubmission of rejected manuscript without revision. So these are the common problems with submission. These are from that by an editor of Journal of Chromatography. Why is language important? Save your editor and reviewers the trouble of guessing what you mean. Okay, this was very interesting. So that was the reason I included it. According to the editor, this paper fell below my threshold. I refused to spend time trying to understand what the author is trying to say. Besides, I really want to send a message that they can't submit garbage to us and expect us to fix it. My rule of thumb is that if there are more than 6 grammatical errors in the abstract, then I don't waste my time carefully reading the rest and desk rejected. So you see, this is the reason why we say write well and be very thorough whenever you are submitting your manuscript. Okay, so this brings me to the end of my this particular webinar. But once you have submitted your manuscript, even after publication, if you remember what I showed you in the on the website of the Lancet, there's so many social media websites, and they've put it on the Twitter, they've put it on the Facebook, so you can also do the same with your manuscript. Once it is published, the research impact of your publication can be increased by sharing versions of your journal article. Like, for example, I said, through the news, through podcasts, through webinars, and through blogs, webinars, Facebook, Twitter, or any other social media platform, the ones that I showed you previously. And you can also create a video abstract for research. Many of these quality journals have these video abstracts. They have audio abstracts on their website if you go and see them through. Okay, so I hope I've done justice to this particular topic. I've just included this picture from Khyber Medical College because I'm also a proud alma mater of Khyber Medical College. Then I went on and I've done my post-graduation at Jinnah Postgraduate Medical Center in Karachi from the Basic Medical Sciences Institute, which was set up by Americans from the Indiana University, who established these 5 departments. And I was a proud alma mater of this as well. And finally, I did my PhD from Ziauddin University, Karachi. And with this, I would like to end my.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a really nice presentation. And at the end, we actually got to know about your journey as well, which is quite impressive. And we are actually very thankful to you for your time. If anybody has any questions, you can raise your hand to communicate them, or you can type them in the chat box. Your choice. Ma'am, Dr. Imran.
जी इमरान का मैंने देखा कि इमरान तारिक का वो एक्चुअली इन्होंने इमरान मरवत
Dr. Imran Marwat.
What is PGPI or any other institute provide PGMI, I think he wants to say, or any other institute provide any financial assistance for publication? Okay. You know, whenever you're working on your manuscript, it is that time at which you start looking for financial assistance. And PGMI does not have a policy for giving this much. I know if it is PGMI, then I can tell you about it. But usually what happens is, I'm just giving him a tip that when you are applying for international journals, they always have a list of countries, low-income countries, and they always have a list in which the fee is usually waived off. If Pakistan does not come in it, there is another way of doing it, that you can apply for a fee waiver. They can give you a percentage. They can they do that. Okay? So they can give you a waiver depending upon if you tell them what are your justifications for that. So they do have policies regarding that. Then Dr. Mariam Tariq, please also explain that having my paper presented in a conference before publication effected, no, it will increase its credibility. It's always good to present your paper in a conference, and because, you know, it's in a changing scenario, rapidly changing scenario. If, for example, your publication takes 1 year time to publish, and the conference you presented it 1 year ahead of a publication, I think that will give it more credibility, that you've already presented your findings at an international forum or a national forum before its publication. And later it is published. I think it's better. Okay. Kindly also explain about abstract book and conference paper. What do you want to ask about abstract paper, abstract book? Abstract books are usually, if you say in a conference, these abstract books are made. They actually show you a list of all those abstracts that are included in that particular conference. Okay, so it is a list of abstracts which are being presented in that conference, and it gives you that. How to gauge the importance of my paper and how to decide that which category impact factor should I send. If it's cross-sectional at local. Okay, yes. If it is, I think we should come out of the cross-sectional studies. I'm a great advocate of asking youngsters like you to start with clinical trials. You should, if you're working in a hospital setup, I think clinical trials can be done. So we should come out of cross-sectional studies. It's better to go for case control studies, or you can start with the RCTs, the randomized control trials, clinical trials. They would be better. Why? Why? Because, you know, impact factor journal will only publish those that can make an impact on the and that can contribute to the evidence-based medicine. Okay, so I think cross-sectional study at the local level, could it be published in high impact factor journal? At the national level, you can get it published, but if you do very good statistical analysis, if you do proper change increase the number of your variables and do a good analysis, you can get it published in an impact factor journal at the local level, but not internationally, a cross-sectional study. Okay, if I am a reviewer for some journal, should I disclose it? No. If you remember, you should not be discussing any manuscript that you have received with, you should not be discussing it with anyone. ठीक है, जब आप reviewer बनते हैं तो this you become bound not to this is breach of confidence. You should not be unethical as well. So you should not be discussing it with whomsoever you want. You should not be disclosing it to anyone. Okay. You can say that you are a peer reviewer for this particular journal, it's okay, but not for a particular manuscript. This is what I'm saying, that you will not, you can, of course, if you're a peer reviewer for some particular, because that does not disclose that aapne kaun sa manuscript review kiya hai, theek hai na? So if you can disclose the name of the journal, but you cannot disclose which particular manuscript is being reviewed by you. Okay? And there are also policies like, for example, if I tell you there is a journal, international journal by the name of BMC, Biomed Center, BMC Cancer, which do open peer review system. What happens is in that your peer review report is available on the website. They do ask you if you want to disclose your name or not. If the reviewer wants to disclose their name, it will be available with your name as well. So there are certain journals like this as well. Okay. इसके बाद और कोई question है फुरकान?
Yes, ma'am. Couple questions हैं, but they are like not related to this webinar. If you want to address them, you can.
Okay, Dr. Umair Azmat, how to add my any international author who can fund our article that would make the article published with this cost?
We actually, ma'am, we actually have this webinars related to these questions. I think it's better that they join there and their questions will be.
But I can just give them a cue on this question. कि वो कह रहे हैं कि how to add any international author who can fund our article.
With this, I would like to turn your attention towards the screen that we have shared. You can see that we have another set of webinars planned for the August, and there are some really good speakers with us in the month of August. And after that, these are all our pre-conference webinars, जो कि जो है आखिर में will take shape of the International Research Conference held in KMC. The conference will be held in 2 days, October 2nd and October 3rd. You can find the registration links to all these webinars and to the conference itself on the KMC websites and the KMC social media handles. The recordings of the webinars are available on SRC YouTube channel, the link to which has been shared in the chat box. I'm sharing with you all the feedback form, which is very necessary for all of you to fill up to mark your attendance.
We'll wait for you for 5 to 10 minutes.
This is the feedback form has been shared. I've shared the link of the feedback form. It is very necessary for all of you to mark your attendance over there and to give us a short feedback about the webinar, because it's going to help us get better and better with our upcoming webinars. If you have any more queries, the speaker will be joining us in a short while. All of you are supposed to fill up the feedback form. The CME certification will be delivered to you over email once it's ready by the PGMI. The certification will be issued by PGMI and will be delivered to your emails. Kindly, it is a request, a humble request from my side, from the organizing team side, that fill up the feedback form. Dr. Naila is facing some internet issues. She's joining back in case to answer your queries. In case there are any other queries, you can keep writing the chat box. She is joining us back. The August webinar schedule, I'm going to display it on my screen. Mariam, I would address your question. I would forward this question to the speaker once she is available. The link to the August webinars is available on our website, and it will be also shared on our social media handles. You can find it there. You don't have to mark the attendance. The attendance was marked and was followed up by our team. You just have to fill up the feedback form. Dr. Umair Azmed, the website link will be shared in the chat box shortly.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम फुरकान अस्सलाम वालेकुम फुरकान
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us back. Uh, I
Do we
hope
have question? मेरा तो सारा वो चैट बॉक्स का डाटा ही उड़ गया, बस अब मेरे पास सिर्फ यहाँ पे
no
2
issues. No issues, ma'am. मैं आपको direct कर देता हूँ. There was only one question, and it is a repeated question, so I think you should answer it. It's by Mariam Tariq. She's asking about ISSN numbers.
ISSN number regarding
She-
what?
She's
Yeah,
she's saying that do search journals have ISSN numbers?
the predatory journals,
Yeah, the predatory.
they might be fake as well. So you need to check the serial numbers might not be according to, लेकिन अगर होंगे भी तो might be fake होंगे because they are fake journals, तो वो ठीक तो नहीं हो सकते ना because, और अब तो ये है कि अब अगर बनेंगे भी, पहले ISSN जो होता नंबर होता था वो that would be free. Now it's you have.
And there is another question by Dr. Umair Azmat. How to add any international authors who can find our article? I think you have already addressed that, if I'm not wrong. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining again.
Okay, I was just looking around for more questions. If you have any, I'm here to answer them.
नेट नष्ट था मैम.
Okay, and if my research abstract is published in abstract book already, does it affect that it's not yet been published in journal? No, it won't affect that. Please don't be worried by that, okay? It will not do any harm to you. Like I told you, it's better that your results are out much before the publication. ठीक है, तो आप ये claim कर सकते हैं कि आपने 1 साल पहले ये काम कर लिया था, ठीक है? Dr. Umair कह रहे हैं how, अच्छा, Dr. Umair, I hope I'm answering the same question again and again कि वही वाली बात कि आप कह रहे हैं कि कोई इंटरनेशनल ऑथर है जो फंड करे आर्टिकल, तो मैं आपको बता रही थी कि I think you should also look around for some senior colleague who has some international collaboration, and you can then first आप ये collaboration करें, फिर उसके बाद फंडिंग के एन मौके पे आर्टिकल तैयार और फिर आप फंडिंग के पीछे जाएं तो वो बेहतर नहीं होगा. फर्स्ट व्हाट यू डू इज व्हेन यू आर स्टार्टिंग विद अ प्रोजेक्ट, तो उस वक्त आप उनको अप्रोच करें और आप उनके साथ अपने प्रोजेक्ट को वो करें, शेयर करें, एंड देन so I think then you will be in a better position to have some collaboration with an international collaborator. ठीक है, अच्छा, फिर what type of articles we can give our review? What certain level of expertise? Okay, at a student level, are you, Dr. Umair, I don't know what is your, it will depend upon that you want to know that when you can become a reviewer. You can become a reviewer when you have some publications under your belt regarding that particular field of study. ठीक है, रिव्यूअर मेरे ख्याल में उन्हीं को बनना चाहिए who have the expertise, who have worked in that particular field. ठीक है, तो that is important. और आप कह रहे हैं कि what certain level of expertise is required for this, तो वो मैंने आपको बता दिया कि जैसे for example if you want to ask associate professor level person who has a number of publications on that particular topic, they can it is better to have a reviewer of that. But if it can be an assistant professor who has a number of publications or who is working on that, but it has nothing to do with age. If at 30 years of age you have 30 publications, I will not grudge you being a reviewer. ठीक है, so आप सिर्फ आपके पास उसका वो होना चाहिए कि आप ने उस सब्जेक्ट में या उस पर्टिकुलर फील्ड ऑफ स्टडी में काम किया हुआ है. We don't have any institutional access to several search engines. Please comment how to tackle. Okay, I think you should force your, आजकल तो आप लोगों का I hope इतना वो होना चाहिए कि one by one आप, because you know in private institutions I've seen, like for example, if you see Shifa or you see Aga Khan, they provide you with all the different accesses or different universities. So I think you can always, instead of asking for a pay raise, you can go to your higher ups and you can ask them for providing you with all these different access to all these different search engines or good established libraries where you can have these particular facilities available. Okay.
I think,
So-
ma'am, these questions, the one we are facing right now, these queries have also already been addressed, and we are short of time here.
ठीक
So
है.
I think we are ending it.
It's okay with me.
If anybody has any further questions, they can always reach out to ma'am to her email, and she will be able to answer at her convenience. Now, I think, ma'am, it's after listening to your journey, I'm actually handing out the stage to one of your classmates, and seeing you two together inspires me because I can see my classmates here, and inshallah in the future we'll be meeting the way you two are right now. Thank you so much, man, for joining us.
Thank you, Farkan. Thank you so much. Thank you. And it's nice to see Dr. Rubina Gul, my classmate.
It was a pleasure and honor to host you for this
Thank you.
session.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for a very informative session. You provided us with a valuable insights and practical tips on navigating the publication process, which I think is going to be very helpful for our students. Especially the younger lot, the first year and the second year students who are very enthusiastic about publication process and they want to get it published in an impact factor journal. And I hope by this presentation, they would have some idea that how to go about it, what is the publication process and what the tips which you have provided them, that how to select a good journal and a right journal and how to go about the writing process, because they just write an article in a form of an essay, but they don't read the author's guideline. So this webinar is going to give them a valuable insight that how to go about it and how to get published in a good, if not an impact factor journal, but a good journal at a national level is going to help them out a lot. Thank you very much, Dr. Naila, for giving us your time. And I really enjoyed your session. I hope to see you again in the conference. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This was a collaborative effort between College Research Committee, KTH, and PGMI, Postgraduate Medical Institute. And we are extremely grateful to everyone who joined us. And we are thankful to Dr. Rubina Gul, Dr. Iqbal Haider, and Dr. Jahan, and all the members of Student Research Committee and College Research Committee for bringing out this webinar and helping tirelessly to make it a successful event. Thanks again to all the participants for joining, because it wasn't possible without you people. Thank you so much. Jazakallah, everyone.